Hi, everyone. Hope everyone is having a great Thursday wherever you are in the world. My name is Sarah Fairclough, and I'm the business administrator for our platform solutions team here at Smart Simple. Today, the members of the platform solutions team are going to be doing a presentation. It's the November 2021 Upgrade Unpacked webinar. So today we're going to be reviewing 5 key features from this past upgrade and going a bit more in depth to give you guys a further explanation. So today I'm joined, like I said, with a few of my team members. Just a couple housekeeping items before we dive in. The session is being recorded and we will be posting it on our YouTube page, and anybody that registered will be sent a copy within about a week to their emails. As well, we will be having a Q&A session at the end, so please feel free to post your questions throughout. We love to hear from you, we love to hear the questions, we just won't be answering until the end. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Garrett, who's going to start us off with our presentation. Thanks, Garrett.
Perfect, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Hi everyone, my name is Garrett Alford. I'm a Platform Solutions Manager here at Smart Simple. And today I'm going to be covering 2 of the features in the most recent upgrade that you must have received on your servers. So these 2 items are the menu link visibility settings changes for global admins, as well as the ability to add a description on the upload files for your multi-file upload fields. So firstly, let's have a look at the menu link visibility changes. So when I refer to a menu, I'm referring to this configuration menu here. So some of you may have seen that some of these links have changed following the recent upgrade. And the links that have changed here, they're actually listed here on the wiki. So I recommend you go to our wiki.smartsimple.com and select upgrades, and you can see a list of all of our recent upgrades. This one is called Updated Visibility of Features under the Menu for Global Administrators. And we have a little blurb about it here, as well as an image of the links which have changed. So all of the links that have settings that have changed from the recent upgrades are highlighted here. You can see them within these red boxes here. So you may be wondering, how do we enable these for our global admins once again? And also you may be wondering, why did we make this change? So first I want to clarify why we made the change here. So this is a security change, of course, because previously global administrators had access to menu items outside of role-based permissions. And this is the way that other menu items are permissioned in the system. So to ensure best practice and consistency system-wide, we have now made it so that global administrators will now need to be in a role that gives them access to certain menu items. And like I said, that's just for consistency. As well, it also helps clear out some of the clutter of your unused links in your configuration menu. So perhaps you weren't using the pin board previously or the calendars previously. Well, now you can simply leave them out for your system administrator roles, and you won't have to see them there. So I will say that that's definitely one of the upsides of this change there. So how do we make these links visible again, the ones that we want to see again? So what you're going to do is you're going to go into your configuration menu and into global settings here. And then you're going to see this security tab here and select it. And then you'll see the system feature permissions link here. And then what we'll see is a menu tab. And when we enter that menu tab, these are all of our menu items here for our configuration menu. And we can add the various roles that we'd like to have access to these particular menu links. So I definitely recommend that you add organizations, your people links, the support access as well. I recommend adding back in for your system administrators if it's not already added prior to the upgrade, as well as workflows, menu access, and requests as well. I recommend adding those back in. There's an even easier way if you'd like to add them by role. What you can do is instead of adding them here in this menu, you can also select this role-based entry mode. And from here, you can just select menu and check the ones you'd like to include for a particular role, and then press save when your changes are complete. So that is a quick little overview on the menu link changes. I recommend making those changes and saving them. And then after you refresh or reload the frame on your browser, you will see the menu links should be as desired. And you can go ahead and customize those as you wish. So another feature that I wanted to show you is the ability to add descriptions for your files that are uploaded to your multi-file upload field. So here's an example. So we have a multi-file upload field here. And what you'll notice is that we're actually enforcing a standardized naming convention on this particular upload field. We're stamping the organization as well as the record type, the date it was uploaded, and a version number here in particular. So that's definitely one of the nice features of Smart Simple. But another thing you'll see is that we have this new description column. So this is what I will be covering today. You can add to this description here, edit it, and provide some context around the uploads here in this multi-file upload field. So how do we enable this description, you may be wondering? And to do so, it's very, very simple. All you have to do is access the settings for that particular multi-file upload field. So you could do so by navigating to the UTA or module settings, or you could even just be viewing a record where you see the field and simply go into tools and configuration mode, where you can simply access the settings of this particular field. So I'll add a description for this field here, which is also a multi-file upload field. One thing that I want to emphasize before we enable the description is that this description column is only available for multi-file upload fields that are not media library types of multi-file upload fields. So if you have that media library setting enabled, what you'll see is that this description does not apply to you. So if you have enabled your media library, the description will not be relevant here. However, if this is just a standard multi-file upload, all we have to do is go into, like I said, this field settings here, and we can just scroll down to this enable description on uploaded files toggle. So if we go ahead and toggle that on, we should be able to see a few extra options here. So we can actually make this description mandatory. So it will actually process its validation. So we can't submit this particular application unless we have provided a description, for all of our uploaded files. So in order to enforce this, we would simply toggle it on here. I'm going to go ahead and press save here on our fields. Alrighty, and then what we're going to do is just reload our frame, or we can refresh and return back to this particular record here, and we can see our changes will be reflected in the field itself. Just give me a moment here. All right, so let's go back to this field here, and we can see that we now have a description column enabled for these particular files uploaded to this field. So if I want to add a description here, all I need to do is be within a role and status, which allows for modification of this particular field here. So if you're wondering, where do you permission the modifications for the description on these files? Well, it's the same as the modification permissions for uploads on this field. So there's your answer there. So to add a description, all we have to do is click in, and we can go ahead and add a description and then press save, and it will be saved to provide some context about this particular upload. So that was just a little bit about a couple of our nice features from the upgrade there. But to continue on with some additional features, I'm going to pass on the mic to my colleague, Anne.
Hi, thanks, Garrett. Hi, everyone. My name is Anne Vincent. I'm the UX writer and designer here at Smart Simple. And today I wanted to walk you through some of the changes we've made to our list view search. So for that, let me just share my screen here. Okey-dokey. So when you first open up your tracking application, you may notice that the first thing that kind of pops out is the changes to the list view search. So previously, the search used to be up here, so in line with the list view action buttons and the pagination, but we've actually moved it down into its own line to give it some room to breathe and to pull out some of these filters. So previously in the old search, you'd had to click into the search box to gain access to column type and status filter, whereas now, it's right here where you can see it easily. So for example, for the type filter, we've added the indication so you can clearly tell which options you have included. So for example, if I have everything included, it'll say all. If I have nothing checked off, it'll say none. And if I have maybe a handful of things checked off, it'll clearly indicate the number of items that I've checked off. So this way, if I have a type or status applied, and maybe I see that the list view looks a little bit different than I'm used to, or maybe isn't showing me the full number of records, I can easily see it's because I have particular type or status applied instead of having to click into the search and check for yourself. So that's how that works. And the status filters works the same way with indication. We've also pulled out the column filter. So back in the old search, this would have been this column over here. So this allows you to search on a particular column in your list view. For example, maybe we want to search on the customer column. Maybe we only want to show records that have the word Boston in the customer name, for example. So I do that, it'll only show me records that have that keyword in the column. So that's really handy for searches like that. And the other major change that we've made is change to the advanced search button. So previously, the advanced search button was connected to the search button right here. And it used to be a caret. So if you clicked on it, it would bring down a panel for your advanced search functions. What we've done is we've actually moved that from here all the way to the right-hand side, and it behaves like a toggle. So if I click on the advanced search, I can turn it on and off. But the function is exactly the same. So I can still add a bunch of criteria. I can do my searches, save it as a filter, clear that criteria. That works the same way. We've just moved it into a toggle. And also we do have a filters dropdown where you can still access your system filters and personal filters. So for example, if I wanted to apply a system filter that I have created here, I can load that filter. It'll load my search criteria. And if I perform search, it should apply it to the list view filter. And if I want to cancel that filter, I can just simply click on the clear search button here, and that will return me back to my regular list view. So that's just a basic overview of the new list view search. You'll probably encounter this new search pattern in other areas of the system, like organizations or reports or contexts. So if you need additional help familiarizing yourself between the differences between the new search and old search, I will add a link to the wiki article that we have that will walk you through it in more detail and that you can read at your own pace. And to talk more about the new features we have regarding scheduling and email limits, I'm going to hand this off to Sharon.
I'm just going to unmute. Thanks, Anne. And massive shout out for writing really good wiki articles because that's made my job a lot easier. So thanks everyone for attending today. What I'm going to be looking at are two features which are classified as minor, but they can have major impact. So definitely worth thinking about. So the first one is that we have added a custom fail-safe limit for workflow emails. So I'm actually just going to pop everything in the chat here if you're curious. And what that means is that if, for example, you have any emails that are triggered by a particular status change or an event change of any kind, and you may not be aware of, say, making changes in backup or live, it's definitely happened to me, and somebody thing says, oh, confirmed, and you go, oh no, what did I do? So we've created a little failsafe in our communications. So if you go to your global settings as a system administrator, you'll now see that there is an email queue limit. So that means that if you send out a lot of messages on a regular basis, if you send out just a few, if you're not expected to send out very many very frequently, then you can always put a limit to say, okay, I'm putting a queue limit of 5. So the minute that 5 emails are sent from our workflow engine, then it's going to notify X person. So a little hack on this users to notify question, because I do know that this is one of those features that can be very easy to overlook with knowledge transfer. So one thing that I tend to recommend doing is if you create a user in your system as a shared staff mailbox, so something that multiple internal staff can access, create them as a user and put them as the user to notify. That means you're always going to be able to review that information. So what happens if I have an email queue limit? Well, if I go to my message queue, which is conveniently here, I can see that there's now a new tab. So in queue, you may be familiar with, that's waiting to go out. On hold would be anything that has been put on hold based on the limitations that you set. So that way you can go in, review, and so on. The other option that we've added there is that you can see as well, we've got the email sent. So how many emails have gone out within the last 24 hours. And generally, I would say if you haven't been in this section of the system for a little while, I would also recommend just one other option, which is under email options, you can set up a failed email alert for yourself as well. Might as well while you're in there. But moving on to the next feature. So the next one is we've made some enhancements to scheduling options. So for 3 different types of data actions, so autoloaders, which is bulk data import, reports, which would be bulk data export, and archives, which would be bulk data put away. Couldn't think of the word in time. But it's very helpful to review in your reports. So this is something that if you wanted to, you could also enable on existing reports. Just need to make a couple of changes. So let's say that you've got a use case that you have report export requirements that are not on a year-end basis, for example, or you may need them every second month, second week, who knows. Everyone is different. So within that, in the export option under any report that you have, under the scheduled export tab, you can see when to run. This is new. So we used to have it so that you could export on a specific basis, which would be, a frequency of every day, week, month, year, and custom. You're familiar with that. But if I said I want to do certain days apart, so every 1 day apart, or if I go every week, I can say I want to go Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, or if I said every month, I can then start to choose by my months. So this is something that can be applied to any of your data actions, I suppose. And then you can also pick your hours. So all you would need to do with existing reports is update the start date. And the other really crucial thing that is very helpful to note is we've added a server time zone. So a lot of the time when you are setting the time zone or doing exports by certain time zone requirements, that is something that can pop up and cause confusion. So it's definitely something that we can add to make sure that you know that the time and date is going to be in EST, and rather than say your export requirements are for Central Time. So that's really the two features that we have here. So I mean, I would say that they're technically minor, but they can have a major impact. So thanks everyone for listening, and I'm going to pass it back to Q&A. So.
Great, thanks everyone. That was awesome overview. So our first question, it's about the file description. Can it still be edited even when the uploaded file cannot be deleted?
Yeah, great question. So you can toggle on a disable delete on a multi-file upload. So that would prohibit deletion of any files uploaded to that particular field. So the question I'm guessing is, can you still edit the description if the disable delete is toggled on? And the answer is yes, if your permissions are such that the particular role and status has modified privileges. So if you're in a status and a role that has modification privileges on a particular multi-file upload field, it does not matter whether you have your disable delete toggled on or not. So a great question. And the answer is it doesn't, it's not dependent on the disable delete toggle.
Great, thanks, Garrett. When you schedule a report, do you get a notification that the report is ready?
Sorry, I was just unmuting. Whoever asked that question, you are great, and that is actually an even better question than I had. So when the notification, if you can see my screen, you'll actually see when I scroll down on that particular report, there is an option to notify a user or role on completion. So you have both completion and failed. So you can create a template here to say, report's done. I usually would say report ID is done, something like that. And put the name, details, and so on, and probably make that public so that other users can access that, make it available to sysadmins. So save that. I'm just going to replicate what I've got here just for consistency. So, okay, that would be one example of a report done. Obviously, you can make that a lot fancier as needed, but then you would say, for this, I can assign particular roles. So I can say sysadmin, or I can pick specific users. I can also attach the exported file in that URL. I would say if you're going to have a notification for completion, it's worthwhile having one for the export failed as well. And the same thing would apply for autoloaders as well. You can always set up notifications for process related to any export or data activity. And I would also suggest, just for yourselves, usually I would say that if you could also set up an export to an internal smart folder, especially if it's on a scheduled basis. That way it's always a backup for what you need. And that way, if there's ever any concerns or confusions about data storage or anything like that, you have that already created. I would say that these data exports are not going to impact your storage or performance, so I would say that it's absolutely no weight to carry. I hope that answers the question.
Great, thanks, Sharon. If I have an existing report with an export schedule already set up, can I still use the new scheduler?
You can indeed. So basically, all you would need to do is update the start date. So it can start from the current day. I would suggest, if you're uncertain as to whether it's the right decision for you, standard practice, log into the backup environment, change it there, test it, see what you think. If it doesn't work for you, then no harm done. If it does, fantastic, you can replicate in live. But any feedback you have on this is really, really helpful as well. But yeah, you can absolutely apply it to existing reports.
Great, thank you. So we have a question about the scheduler. So the user was saying that you can store these reports, but they can also be stored outside of the platform.
Yes.
So sorry, yeah. I'm thinking the exported report, can it be stored outside of the Smart folder?
Yeah, completely. So you can have it just export directly to a particular folder or an SFTP for one. So you can create an integration key. You can have it so that it simply exports in the email that's sent here. So if you just attach that in the email. If you have the SFTP folder path, so for anyone who's new to that term, Secure File Transfer Protocol, I would definitely talk to your IT department about that. Alternatively, if you're looking for something that can be accessed external, I want to just draw your attention to one feature we have, which is the OData connector. So that's a connector that is updated on a basis that you decide to set. You can cache that information. But what that does is it plugs into an Excel document you may already have and exports the raw data from the report that you have or the data you've created to an Excel, so you can then make use of your macros and so on. So that is definitely one option I would mention as well. You could also internet enable a report and have it so that you can have that link and download and export as needed. When it comes to standard exports, you can simply set a file export type here. And if you wanted to go to a folder or not, that's an option as well. One other last thing I'll mention, I have heard questions about exporting information as an XML document. One way to do that is in the custom export. You would pick your fields and you can just nest them within XML data. If it's for QuickBooks, you would put .iif in there. So while we're on the topic of ways that you can get reports out of the system, it's worth knowing that those options are available.
Great, thanks, Sharon. Yeah, maybe we can connect with Jason after the presentation, but always nice to hear from old Smart Simple team members. So thanks, Jason. It looks like there are no other questions currently, but if anybody does have any further questions, you can definitely email support@smartsimple.com because they can look into your system a bit further if there's something that's maybe specific to your system or you just want some more clarification. As well, like we mentioned during the presentation, please look at the wiki article. Anne and Mark spent a lot of time writing it and working on it to make it really accessible for all of our users, and it's a great resource. So we appreciate them working on that, and we hope that you take a chance or have a chance to look at it. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining us today. Like I mentioned earlier, we will be sharing a recording of this. It'll be sent to your emails and posted on our YouTube page. And we hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you all so much.